Welcome back to War and Pandemic, now with over 15 million downloads in our podcast. When everybody go to the podcast, it's totally free. Download the podcast, give us a review. Episode 412. You're in the War Room. It's Tuesday. It's debate day out in Cleveland. Tuesday, 25th of September, year of our Lord 2020. We're right. 29th. Did I say 25th?
Yes, you did.
I'm back in. I'm back in that time where I gotta write that better. 29. I have no idea where I am. I'm in the war room. I'm in the war room. It's the fog of war, baby.
I told you we were going to
do
a mock debate. You're playing Biden today.
Hey, 25th and the 29th. No.
Oh, boo.
This
is exactly what we're hoping happens tonight.
Exactly.
Whoa. I have no idea where I am. You don't understand. This is ever since Raheem gave me the great Napoleon quote of go. You know, the crown of France was right there. I just picked it up with my saber. I haven't been the same since. No, I'll be honest with you. I have never been more maniacally. People who know me and know how focused I get on stuff. I have never been more maniacally focused in my life on the undemocratic means that the apparatus is going to use to steal this election from President Trump. And I don't think people fully appreciate the depth of what they're going to do. Just look at that New York Times article yesterday and look at the follow-on on the tax article where they're accusing Ivanka and all the Trump organization people. They're going to put them all in prison. I mean, this is what you're talking about. I mean, stakes could not be higher here. So, days of the week are just, that's noise. I'm just giving you a signal, right?
Okay, you guys are going to love this.
Okay,
go
ahead.
Our story about the debate tonight, it is now being reported that the Biden campaign has made a request this morning that there be a break every 30 minutes during the debate.
Stop.
Hold on, you're right. You're right. I got some more on this as well.
No, that can't be.
Yeah,
that's
it's
impossible.
true. This is from a Fox News producer.
That's from Bumblebee.
No,
that's from Babylon
That's
B.
from Babylon B.
It's in the
That's from Babylon B. That's.
Come on, man.
By the way, I was over at the White House. We am the Joe Biden stand-in. No,
Trump is understood to have firmly rejected the idea.
Biden's camp could not have done that.
Yeah, they requested 2 breaks, one every 30 minutes during tonight's program, which was denied by their Trump counterparts in negotiations over the last several weeks. Fox News has heard new details about the debate negotiations. The Trump campaign wants the Biden campaign to allow a third party to inspect the ears of the debaters for electronic devices or transmitters. The president has consented to this inspection, but Biden has not.
The Trump campaign asked for the inspection.
Yeah,
this is the concept of the. This is the concept that he's had an implant of a hearing device, and he keeps something in his pocket. Hey, that's not my shtick. I would definitely do the Adderall. They could not possibly. By the way, Biden campaign, if you actually ask for 30 minutes, every 30 minutes have a break, you just
it's over.
It's over. You know why? They're taking him back and getting a big fat shot. A big fat shot in his ass, right? John Fredericks. I know we're getting.
I'm not sure that's. I think that's
okay.
All right.
Fine. We're on the thing. No, they couldn't ask for that. That's redonkulous. That's redonkulous.
And it's particularly crazy when you consider that the whole line of attack against Biden has been that he's not physically or mentally capable to withstand the rigors of the office. And on the day of the debate, he reveals he can't even make an hour and a half without 2 breaks.
Yeah.
Jill has got to, do the Gerbers after the sundown. Comes out, do the Gerbers, have the bib with the index card with his go-to response, right?
Well, it's almost elder abuse at a certain point. I mean, this guy deserves to be sitting in a rocking chair somewhere as far as I'm concerned.
So I don't want to give, he's got, because I've studied the tapes, he's got some definite, I can't give this signal away, but he's got some tells. As a debate, when you look structurally, he's got some tells of, he's got a place he pivots to when he does the fade. He's got a couple of key ways he moves, and he's got a couple of phrases of how he pivots to regroup to try to push it forward. Because you can tell he fades in a number of answers, or when he's talking about the grasp of what is, it just kind of goes away from him. He's got a couple of real tells that I'm sure the president's going to exploit tremendously tonight, because that's going to be like a that's going to be like putting meat in front of a carnivore, right?
Yeah, they would have studied very closely is exactly that. Which topics send Biden on a little rant into mumbly land.
Yes.
And I expect the president to try and take him there as much as humanly possible. And a lot of the time it pertains to Biden's own personal history, his own, where he went to university or where he grew up, or whether or not he was Neil Kinnock at one point in his life.
Well, no,
I
how
think
smart
a
he
great
was.
question is, you said you got your start at Delaware State, which is a traditionally African-American university in Delaware. And he's saying this as a throwaway to kind of curry favor, as he always does. And Delaware State actually came out and said, hey, listen,
it's
that
cultural
guy was never an
it's
attendee
cultural appropriation.
Right.
He went and gave the graduation speeches, the commencement exercise in 2003 and I think in 2014, but he was never there as a student.
Well, here's the difference. Donald Trump has pledged billions of dollars to traditionally black colleges in America. He is doing everything he can to bring these things back up to the stature that they have traditionally held in our culture. And he's actually putting his money where his mouth is. He's putting time in to help these great universities. And Biden, on the other hand, he just uses them as a throwaway prop. These people are just someone to help me get elected. I don't really care.
Let's go back to your now. But if Biden thinks, though, that he's going to be out policy Trump, that he's the policy guru, first off, Biden is not a particularly sharp guy. He gets wrapped up in some of this policy stuff. It gets to the mumble tank, right? Trump will smash him on this stuff. Yeah, we're going to pelletize the chicken droppings. I mean, it's or the thing with the Ram, the Dodge Ram. You have no idea where these stories are going, right? So, and it's broken down in component pieces. The one I'm looking forward to the most is the COVID response. I want them to go immediately, look, not to have enough respect for the American people, to show up at your convention in July, and you're referring back to, I have a strategic plan from March 25th.
Right.
That's you might as well be in the Roman Empire as far as the movement. Every day we're learning more. I mean, Jack Maxey's hammering you every day with new information, new analysis, new data globally on the pandemic. And you're giving me we have to have testing and we got to get a mask. Hey, I got that part. Tell me what you're going to do. Give me the plan.
Well, I mean,
right?
180 years in the Senate is a long time. So
give us your assessment.
But this is the thing. I mean, this is why the bar has been lowered so much. There's a sort of conspiratorial tinfoil hat part of me that thinks, has Biden been doing this intentionally so that he can come out all guns blazing in a debate and everybody goes, whoa, where did this come from? Who is this person that we haven't seen for the last 3 or 4 months? Because, as you say, Steve, there are some people, Elon Musk, for example, who says that they will be using this debate to decide on which presidential candidate they will end up backing. Now, Jack, you brought up that HBCU Delaware State question, and that is one of 17 points that is on the DonaldJTrump.com website now. The headline of the article is 17 questions Joe Biden must answer in the debate. But just to bring sort of the audience into the room here on how things like this work, when you put an article like that out, you're obviously expecting your opponents to read it. And so what you're essentially doing is creating a lot of false flags and a lot of things that you will never raise and that you won't raise, but you want to plant the seed in their mind that you might. I mean, Nigel Farage did this during the Nick Clegg debate ahead of the European Union referendum, where he briefed the media in advance that he was going to come bursting out of the blocks attacking Nick Clegg. And actually what Nigel did is he just sat back for 15 minutes, let Nick Clegg attack really heavily, because Nick Clegg then thought Nigel was going to attack heavily. Clegg exhausted himself within the first 15 minutes. And in the first 15 minutes, a lot of the media were like, oh my goodness, Nick Clegg is wiping the floor with Nigel Farage. And then after 15 minutes, you saw Clegg just tired, exhausted, I've used all my points. And for the next 45 minutes of the debate, Nigel just managed to just slap him around the whole time. And so that's something that's happening here as well. So you can see those 17 questions on the website. There will be some of those that are used and there will be some that are not. But it's all about causing the confusion. And just the final point I wanted to make is about the markets. I want to come back to this, Steve, with you. Is that I do think that the markets are going to react very negatively. If Joe Biden wins and the markets think that there could be a clean sweep for the Democrats on November the 3rd, and that comes with a legislative agenda with higher corporate tax rates, higher capital gains increases, and they ain't going to like that.
And Elizabeth Warren is Secretary of Treasury. But I got to tell you, so far, you haven't seen that in the markets. I don't think you've seen that in the markets
one of the things you gotta
a lot of people are asking about that, but And I don't think it's just because I don't believe it's just because they think Trump's going to win. I think, and this is a wake-up call to the Bernie guys listening to the show, they understand Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not going to cross the financial industry. He's not going to cross the corporation. Those are the guys that have been his that's his base. It's not Scranton. That's his base. He's not going to double. He may put Elizabeth Warren and give you some phony
and an example
facade.
of that is MBNA gave Hunter Biden a no-show job. I think it lasted for 2 years, was like $225,000. Come on, man. He owes some debts on that street.
We got about 3 minutes here. We got so much to get through. Anything else on the debate from you? Any other announcements? Because this stuff's brilliant. I could listen to you on debates all day long. Because Raheem, and look, we had Greg Mann, Jason Cortez. They're all at the campaign now. They're running debate prep.
Raheem, foreigner.
No, but Raheem did, the reason we set the room up like this, Raheem did Farage and did such an amazing job over those many years. Nigel was a fabulous debater. I mean, with UKIP had no money. You basically had to go on debates because the media wouldn't cover you, so you had to go on debates. What else do you think happens?
Oh, we had to open ourselves up for all sorts of attacks, and I think that's what this president does as well. It's why he gives the interviews to the people that you think, why is he giving the interviews to those guys? It's his own way of forming the media narrative and changing the media narrative. So look, a lot of people are thinking that the tax and the coronavirus are two of Trump's weakest points this evening. My advice to the president would actually be to heavily lean into both of those things.
Lean in big time.
Lean in big time. Do not try and pivot away from it.
Talk about the actions.
Yeah, and by the way,
compare and contrast with the Nancy Pelosi and the
talk
Democrats.
about how smart you are to avoid paying taxes, as all business owners try to pay as little tax as possible. Talk about how that puts you in touch with ordinary business.
The jobs you created.
Absolutely. And on the pandemic, let's go back and talk about the CCP. Let's talk about why Mumbly Joe didn't want to come out and talk about this earlier. Let's talk about how the higher level expectations were 2.5 million people dead in the United States, and the media cheered when it hit 200,000. He's got to hit that, and he's got to hit the media.
I would say be comfortable that is going to be directionally what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Right. This is why, and the people that have been advocating nuance and act presidential. Trump's Trump, right? That's his president. His presidency is a disruptive presidency.
Right.
Right. He's not Mitt Romney. You can't craft this guy into be Mitt Romney. He's not going to be Mitt Romney. He's not going to act like Mitt Romney. He's not going to win.
Everybody has to remember, too, we watched the Biden debates in the Democratic primaries. If we are objective about that, Biden was not the best debater on that stand. Biden was the chosen leader for the party. That's why they had to betray Bernie Sanders. This guy is not a rock star on the debate stage by any stretch.
No.
And I think Donald Trump is going to put this guy so deep in the mumble tank, he's not going to know what happened to him. And proof of that is the campaign requesting 30-minute breaks every 30 minutes.
Here's the wild card. Halfway out, Biden tags out, Kamala walks in.
Taps out, yeah, no. By the way, talking about somebody who was great in debates, and I want to get her voice up here in the next Tulsi Gabbard for the next. She's come out and broke some big news about this ballot, cash for ballots. And Tulsi is a rebel. I think she's terrific. I would love to get her as a candidate. Somebody who could be a big player in this populist movement. I want to come back. And I thought bench pressed Joe Biden all the time on the debate. Jack, you're absolutely correct. I thought he was terrible in the debates. I thought it was just Joe showing up, right?
Yeah, he barely spoke.
And no granularity, right? The one thing that his handlers got to understand tonight, you got to get granular, particularly the awful trade policies you recommended, the national security policies you recommended. You got to bring not this happy on Joe, the nice uncle, right? Okay, we're going to return. War Room Pandemics debate day.
Look at this.
How many
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We're getting closer and closer to Election Day now, and it is critical to remember that the strength of our democracy lies in the integrity of our elections. Every one of us has to have faith that our vote will count. But right now, there are still many states in our country that allow for something called ballot harvesting. This is a system that allows for third parties to collect and deliver ballots for other people, potentially large numbers of people. Unfortunately, ballot harvesting has allowed for fraud and abuse to occur by those who could tamper with or discard ballots to try to sway an election for or against a certain candidate or party. Now, our vote is our voice. So whether in the midst of a pandemic, as we are now, where mail-in voting is likely to drastically increase, or even in a normal election, no one should get in between a voter and the ballot box. Now, while some states have prohibited vote...
Tulsi Gabbard just officially announced she's leaving the Democratic Party. With that, ballot harvesting, note to Tulsi, and we love her. I think she's one of the smartest people on national security policy. She's a major, I think, in the Army. Fantastic individual. It tells you about the Democratic Party. She didn't get much of the vote. It just shows you where the Democratic Party's gone. But that is truth to power right there, ladies and gentlemen. That would be signal, not noise. Okay? She laid down ballot harvesting. This is where so many of these fights are going to come from. You got so many of these nefarious groups. You're seeing it. We started last 2 days. We started with the Veritas Project. They're showing you cash for ballots, and it's going to be coming by the palletful. Okay? This is why you got to be a poll watcher. This is why you have to be an election official. Bring your Bowie knife, because, yes, media matters. It's going to be a knife fight in the room, on the table, when they start laying the ballots out, of those ballots that are certifiable. And remember, in your primaries, you had almost a third of the ballots in the Democratic primary over in Brooklyn couldn't be certified, right, by Democrats. So, Jack, I'd like to know your thoughts. Tulsi Gabbard, that's a profile in courage. Or it's her exit interview with the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party lives off of ballot harvesting. Down in Carolina's been these huge problems, and this is what the problem is with traumatizing your base. Now that you've traumatized your base, they don't want to go vote. They want to somehow vote, and now you got all these nefarious groups running around. You got this thing in Houston. There's going to be more every day. Trust me, O'Keefe and these guys are not finished. Jack Maxey.
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is more than likely speaking to this issue as a victim of it. Trust me, they use the same techniques during their own Democratic primaries to make sure that the people's candidates like Tulsi and Bernie Sanders get replaced by the corporate candidates like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Do I need to repeat that for some of you people sitting on the fence out there? Have you been betrayed enough by your party? Tulsi Gabbard is throwing down right now because she's been a victim of this, and she knows it's wrong. She's a patriot.
That's going to go in the Hall of Fame. We're going to play that one over and over again until it's embedded into people's minds. This is why tonight, Raheem, I wanted to walk to. And by the way, do you have the latest? I want to get the latest on the Supreme Court, because it's so amazing. We got some breaking news in the Supreme Court from our own Jack Maxey.
Now, The Hill is reporting this morning that there is a Harvard Capps Harris poll concerning the nomination of a new Supreme Court justice. Now, interestingly, this poll was done on the 22nd to 26th, so it was before Mrs. Barrett was actually chosen. But here's something very interesting. 61% say the Constitution should be interpreted as written. Only 39 see that the appointed justices should consider it an evolving document. Now, 53% say President Trump is right to nominate a new judge. This includes 51% of independents. Now, quite revealing, 53 overall say that the Senate should take a vote right now. Mitch, you listening? Linda?
But for Lindsey Graham and Grassley, these guys, to allow 2 weeks, why is the hearings not starting Monday? Have the hearings go 3 days, boom, take it to the Senate floor, let's vote, let's move on. You drag it out, and all it's going to do is allow the craziest elements on the left, that would basically be the entire crew at MSNBC, to just sit there and pounder on her personal and her religious beliefs. The anti-Catholic bigotry is just going to get so intense. But I blame the Republicans for why are we dragging this thing out? They made a determination that we need this judge, and why do we need the judge? The progressives drove this. It's the 200 lawsuits about, guess what, the election. Because why? They traumatized their base with the media. They've gone in and used lawfare with these lawsuits with Perkins Coie. They're the ones driving all this madness. You need a ninth judge. The buried lead, you go down to the 10th paragraph in all these stories on Wisconsin, Pennsylvania about state courts, federal district courts, and they all say, oh, yeah, this is probably going to go to the Supreme Court. Whereas it's got to go to the Supreme Court, it's got to go now.
We have some breaking news. I just wanted to break in with this. The Emir of Kuwait has passed away just now. Just appears to be breaking. Yeah, it just appears to be about 30-odd minutes ago. He actually just had medical treatment in the United States and was awarded the U.S. Legion of Merit by the president earlier this year. So there will be obviously some regional
he was supposed to be the second signer to the Abraham Accords.
Right.
So I guess it's going to be the new emir.
There will be some geopolitical implications.
Going back to the Supreme Court confirmation, I want to point out something very important. This woman was confirmed in October less than 2 years ago.
Yep.
All of the senators who sit on the Judiciary Committee on the Democratic side are still there.
So is Kavanaugh.
Are still there, except for one person, Al Franken. Right? So Al Franken, I guess, doesn't get to make the choice this time.
This is Mark Elias's Al Franken?
Mark Elias's Al Franken.
He found 300 votes in a trunk of a car.
Mark Elias, the corn pop of the Democratic Party. He's a bad dude. Come on, man.
How long into the debate tonight does Joe Biden go? Does he go to the first 30-minute break or into the second 30-minute segment before he refers to corn pop?
I think Trump should refer to corn pop first. I think he should raise it first. Hey, listen, we're glad you could make it tonight.
I think we have a responsibility to settle the rules for the drinking game for the debate tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So every time Joe Biden says, come on, man, everyone has to drink.
Is this story, I want to go back to the story. This story can't be real about they asked for 30-minute breaks.
It is absolutely
real.
It's real. It is absolutely
Has
real.
the Biden campaign confirmed that?
Well, it's a Fox News producer who is getting details of the Fox News hosted debate who's reporting it.
From the Trump campaign.
I would imagine they have to corroborate it with the Fox News election team that are running the thing.
I know, but is to say that the campaigns? My point is, did Fox News get confirmation from the Biden campaign? It sounds like they got confirmation. Look, my point, if that's true, then that's the tell. You can't. Let's take Donald Trump's activities on any day of the week. He's doing, first off, he's got a full-time job. It's called being president of the United States. He's doing all of that. Then he's flying around, going to rallies. He's going to these roundtables. He's giving press conferences. He's taking it all on 18 hours a day, plus cramming in, watching War Room Pandemic on Newsmax TV at night, right? And other shows, right? Others of his favorite shows on his special TiVo, right? Getting all the information. My point is, it's a 20-hour day. And he's up early tweeting, about Mika bleeding all over his rugs at Mar-a-Lago, right? For the facelift she said she didn't get, but he swears that she was bleeding somehow. But it's an early morning tweet storm. He's up on it 18 hours a day, all of it in your grill. And it's rallies, these speeches, the rallies are an hour and a half in the rain in Pennsylvania. I asked a reporter that was there that talked to me the next day. I said, hey, I actually watched them because I wanted to make some notes about the debate. And, obviously went over an hour. And I said, it looked like it was raining on him the entire time. The guy said, hey, there was a steady rain the entire time. He said he didn't mind. He just kept right on rolling. In the rain, Joe Biden, listen, Joe Biden's had lids. And I understand that you got to do the debate prep. But, hey, Joe, you're supposed to have 47 years. You're supposed to be so much smarter than Trump. Trump's grinding away at the presidency and doing everything else. You're knocking the lid down at 9 o'clock in the morning. And not just that, his campaign has no scalability. At some point in time, you know this from Nigel, I don't care if it's COVID or not, you've got to represent in places like Pennsylvania, and you've got to represent in Florida. You just can't COVID this. You just can't digitally sit in your basement with Jill and the Bib and the Gerbers and engage and fire people up to go out on, guess what, November 3rd. This is another reason they're traumatized. Their leader is not out there in the hustings, right?
Something to think about with Biden, too. He served there for almost 50 years, right, in the Senate. His service to the Senate represents more than 20% of the history of the entire Senate. What has he accomplished in 20% of our historic national timeline while holding one of those seats.
You are what your record says. Here's what he's got: his pivot to Asia, which failed dramatically. He got the Xi deal on cyber intrusions and militarization of South China Sea that the Chinese never lived up to, while his son got $1.5 billion. Raheem, you got that look
So
on
just
you.
to answer your question about where this story has come from. So the author of the article is Peter Ducey,
Oh,
who's
he's fabulous.
who's actually the guy assigned to the Biden campaign for Fox, I believe. So you've got to imagine that there was a question at least put into the Biden campaign before this story ran.
Or one of the guys at Biden campaign confirmed it at a junior level.
But one of the buried leads in this is that they also report that the negotiations for the format tonight are still ongoing.
That's going to be news to some of the guys who are doing the debate. Hey, it's show up, don't shake hands, cut the cameras on. There's no introductory remarks. You know, it starts with a question. I think Wallace is going right to the president with the first question. Game on, right? Hey, in an hour, 90 minutes later, cut the cameras off, no handshake, thing goes dark, let the spin room start.
Tune into Raheem's analysis.
We'll be
Real
back.
America's
We got
Voice.
Liz Yore about the Vatican next time.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back. We're in Pandemic on the John Fredericks Radio Network on Real America's Voice, the streaming platform of the Trump Revolution. Tonight at 7 o'clock to 9, you got pregame on Real America's Voice. That's Dish Channel 219, Chicago Comcast Channel 113. You got Raheem Kassam, Governor Eric Greitens, and, of course, Dr. Gina Loudon. That's going to be a great pregame show, and you're going to do postgame, too, until 11. Raheem's already been whining, but I'm working to 11. You know, can I come in for like the last 10 minutes of it? No.
I did not ask that. Frankly, I wouldn't leave this show in your control anymore. You're barely coherent.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Welcome back to the 22nd of September, Year of our Lord 2018. We're going to go into some very serious stuff, but I want to start with even something more serious. Let's go. Do we have the thing up to this? Literally happened to me today. Is that I'm over with Jack Maxey at the Trump Hotel, meeting with Rudy. Got some stuff we got to go through. Rudy's going to Cleveland today. Then I do Rudy's podcast. This is the film podcast, not the radio show. And at the end of it, it's Rudy or one of Rudy's assistants or Jack Maxey brings up it's St. Michael's Day.
Yeah, I said that it's the feast day of St. Michael, St. Gabriel, and St. Raphael. And I thought, hey, what a great day for us to say some prayers because we got a debate tonight. And this really is, as we've talked for many months, the fight that we have going on in the world today is one against good and evil.
So as Raheem brought up that time of St. Michael's, I always keep my Archangel St. Michael protect us, right? Catholic voodoo, right? But hey, I'm all in. I was raised Catholic. I'll take it. Catholic voodoo. But so I pull out my medal to Rudy. They're like loving it. We get a great shot from Jack Maxey we're over in the Lincoln Room. We ought to put that up on the, that's a cue, Vish. Put that up on the screen. I literally get back here late. We're starting the show. We got 1 minute to go. Raheem's all prepped. He's got everything ready to go. Jack and I sit down. And the person who gave me this, icon, right, that I keep all the time for protection, not that I need it, says, "Hey, it's St. Michael's Day. You guys ought to give a shout out to the archangels and to the guardian angels." I go, "Well, I've got Liz Yore on, so she's my living new archangel." But Jack, do you have that piece you want to read?
Well, there are no coincidences, right? And we've always been talking about China, the Communist Party of China, as this sort of mortal enemy of the West and liberty and global liberty, and certainly the people, the Lao Beijing of China. But so I went and I looked at what the reading was for this morning, and it's Revelations. War broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels battled against the dragon. The dragon and its angels fought back, but they did not prevail. There was no longer any place in heaven for them. The huge dragon, the ancient serpent who was called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world, was thrown down to earth, and its angels were thrown down with it. I think that's a great metaphor for the fight we're in right now, Steve.
The war in heaven. The war in heaven. And I really want to thank the person out there who listens to the show on occasion or watches it. Thank you so much for giving it to me. It's one of the things I cherish the most. Really appreciate it. Kept me safe in many, many tough situations. I want to say something about tonight in the debate. Very important for President Trump, and I know he's going to do this. You saw in the cold open we had in the beginning of the show, to connect Joe Biden with the CCP and connect Biden particularly with the corruption and influence peddling, how they buy institutions. I know it's shocking, and particularly for Catholics and even for Christians out there, to see what's going on with the Chinese Communist Party, understanding how robust the persecuted church is. Remember, whether it's first century Rome or Eastern Europe during the Soviet Union, sub-Saharan Africa today with the radical Islam down there, the persecuted church is always the strongest church, because that's where you got to fall back on your beliefs. One of the strongest churches in the world of evangelical Christianity and Catholicism is mainland China. You know, Jack, you and I have done those shows now for 9 months on the weekends. We get this past weekend where we had the demonic power of the CCP. We had eyewitnesses from a Christian and from a practicing Catholic of what it was like to be under the CCP's boot in mainland China. But here's what stuns people. The cultural, the impact that the culture, that the CCP has had about not just in business, not just in Wall Street and finance, not just by our politicians, but culturally in all of our institutions. We had the great guy, Policy Sonar, wrote the book, I think called The Red Dragon, about the takeover of Italy, right? And he, who's a secularist, he brings up the fact that the biggest thing they took over Italy was not the political parties. The biggest problem was the infiltration of the Catholic Church by the Chinese Communist Party. This guy's a secularist saying, hey, you're going to start to see, because the bishops there have tremendous power regionally with the people, you're going to start to see an entire flip for the Chinese Communist Party because of the money and influence the Chinese Communist Party is putting into the Catholic Church in the Vatican and in Italy. Well, Liz Yore, who is an absolute fire breather, and we want to thank the guys at Bannon 212, the great, the kind of drudge-like website. It's the Citizens Free Press of traditional and conservative Catholics. If you go there, Bannon 212, it's a site you ought to have up on your phone if you're Catholic, or even if you're a Christian, because it gets so many great articles. Had Liz's interview on War and Pandemic as the Mac Daddy the other day, and I want to thank all the guys at Bannon 212. Like we do Citizens Free Press, What Finger, Bongino Report. You guys are doing a great job. The Revolver. So Liz, don't break my heart. I know you got breaking news here. Tell me what's going on.
Well, I'm going to break your heart, but I believe in St. Michael, and this isn't over. The press office at the Vatican has announced that the Vatican will sign the renewal of the China agreement. And in their announcement, they said that it's worth continuing despite the difficulties. The difficulties were not the persecution that's ongoing, but COVID. And it will provide unity in the Catholic community. Well, that unity is going to be under the boot of the CCP. Now we know why Pope Francis would not meet with Pompeo or Cardinal Zen. He could not justify this face-to-face, looking them in the eye. He can't stand the truth, to hear the truth from either of these great men, that this is an abomination. And so they decided not to meet with Pompeo and Zen. And this is why this agreement is so bad. And the Vatican doesn't want to talk about it. It's hoping that the Chinese firewall will prevent this news from coming out. But even Pompeo talked about the persecution, the just widespread arrest, detention, torture of bishops and priests who refuse to join the CCP Patriotic Catholic Church. I mean, this is ongoing. There's an article just yesterday that got out from the firewall that a young priest was being tortured in what they call the exhausting eagle, which is kept up 24/7 for days with the gonging in his ear and lights in his eyes, forcing him to join the CCP. So that's what's going on in China. And look, in my mind, credit has got to be given to the Trump administration. Here they're in a heated election battle against an opponent who was a small C Catholic. And yet, nevertheless, they didn't need this battle with the CCP and the Catholic Church, but they stepped right in the middle of it because they knew It was the moral thing to do. And when history is written, and attention to the Catholic bishops around the world, this is the face of moral courage and leadership. And it's not coming from the Vatican. It's coming from Donald Trump and his administration. So, it's not signed yet. There are plenty of days ahead. We just have to keep fighting the fight along with St. Michael and his archangels. But we knew that this was coming, and Pompeo is there right now. This, I think, is frankly a slap in the face to Pompeo that this announcement was made while he is basically in the Vatican meeting with Vatican officials. But nevertheless, truth will prevail. And the Catholic people in China and in Hong Kong, who are the most fervent and deepest Christians around the world because they are persecuted, yet they hold on to the faith. They know that Donald Trump is fighting for them. They are going to do their darndest to get the truth out about what's happening. And Pope after Pope have said that the Catholic Church can never remain silent in the face of communism. And in fact, Pius XII called the Catholic Patriotic Church the church that Francis says they should embrace as a fraud which embraces the tenets of atheistic communism. So this is a shocking time in the history of the church. But as I said, history is going to be written favorably that the Catholics, the Christians, the persecuted around the world were protected by Donald Trump and not by the Holy See.
Liz, we got a couple of minutes left here. I want to ask a question. You've had Miles Gwillan here saying, hey, the reason they did this was cash. And there may be some other blackmail that's going on too, but McCarrick was the guy that cut this deal. The most evil guy the Catholic Church has, put forward in, a century. He's now Mr. McCarrick, with all the pedophilia stuff, and he was the guy that did it, and they're taking billions of dollars. Miles, also, when we have the whistleblower movement, New Federal State, the number one thing these people talk about is spiritual. They talk about whether they're Buddhists, Falun Gong, Uyghurs, underground house Christians, Tibetan Buddhists, Han Buddhism. We had a Han Buddhism woman on the other day. They talk about spiritualism and how atheistic, materialistic communism, its number one thing is to strip you of that, because then they can mold you with propaganda. Do you see in this, and I think this is a crisis because it shows you the church won't stand up for the real faith. Do you see any unity in opposition to what Pope Francis is doing, or people just shrugging their shoulders and said, hey, it's China, it's China's problem. We don't really know the Patriarch Church. Carl Zen seems like a nice guy, but they're Chinese. Who cares?
Steve, this is how I look at it, and this is the advantage, I think, of what happened in the pandemic in the United States. It was very difficult for Catholics and Christians to really appreciate the persecution, being denied their faith, being denied services. Well, the last 7 months, we've experienced a little bit of that. And one would imagine and believe that, take that on a scale of ongoing persecutions. I think, the Christians around the world who aren't being persecuted but have seen a denial and a lessening of their ability to practice their faith have a new and more fervent appreciation of what's going on in China and under the boot of the Communist Party. I think it's going to unify Christians and really awaken Christians and Catholics in the United States. We're very aware that our bishops, like our Pope, are remaining silent in the face of persecution around the world. And it enrages us because the Catholic Church has always been that moral authority in the face of heinous persecution that stands up and that has martyrs who will stand up and fight for the church and fight for truth. Well, that's not happening with our leadership. So what I believe is happening right now as we speak, and we saw it on the Mall last weekend, is that Christians and Catholics, laity, are going to speak and step up and start fighting on behalf of persecuted Christians and not waiting for our leadership who is cowering and who is frankly remaining silent in the face of whether it's money, bribes, or some other political ideology. So I think the laity, the deplorables, have been awakened.
Liz, we got to bounce. We're gonna get your handle in the next segment. Thank you very much, Liz. You're the fire breather. Bad news from the Vatican regarding CC.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Over 15 million downloads on the podcast. I want everybody to go there. Apologize, a few technical problems today, but that's always you're going to have those when you're doing a show as complicated as this. I want to go voting by the pound. Your a piece yesterday. This is still the issue before us. Tulsi Gabbard calls it out. The ballot harvesting is a nightmare. This is where they're paying cash money for ballots. It's going to cause a fracas starting late the evening of 3 November. Mr. Raheem Kassam.
Yeah, we just put a story up on the National Pulse that plays off my monologue on the show yesterday, where I walked people through the precursor to this. We've seen this all before in the United Kingdom, specifically in Tower Hamlets. Steve, you might remember that on polling day in 2014, Andre Walker and I, a reporter at Breitbart London, back when I was running it, we went out to Tower Hamlets armed with a camera and filmed what was going on outside these polling stations, mass voter intimidation, etc., etc. Over the months that played out after that, it was disclosed that actually Lutfur Rahman, who was this Pakistani, Bangladeshi candidate in East London, was defrauding the voting public in various many ways. There was mail-in ballot corruption, bribery, ballots for cash. Undue spiritual influence was a particularly British term in British electoral law about how mosques were cajoling Muslim voters to vote for Lutfur Rahman. And so I dug up the old video from Tower Hamlets, and it's up as the lead on the National Pulse website right now. It's about 2 minutes 20 long. You can see exactly what took place back then, and I think it's imperative for people to understand the context of what's taking place now in Minnesota. After all, what was the subtitle of my book, No-Go Zones? It's coming to a neighborhood near you.
Yeah, we've got to be all over this. This is going to be the big fight with lawfare, et cetera. Jack Max.
One of the listeners pointed out, and I think it's something that the president would be wise to state from the dais tonight. Any of these recent immigrants, particularly in Ilhan Omar's district, who are messing around with the election, they put their immigration status at great risk. You want to head back to the democratic paradise on the Arabian Sea in Somalia? Have at it.
Well, first off, the reason we have to do this correctly is those that have come here that want a free and fair election.
Exactly.
They're voting and they don't want this nonsense going on. They look around, they see guys cashing out or selling the votes. That's not why they came to America. So I think
that's a positive sign. It was Somalians who actually uncovered it. They said, "Hey, man, we didn't come here for this."
The power of that piece is it's Somalians that are, and the guys going to the FBI with the FBI not doing anything. That's Michelle Malkins breaking out with Jill more with that. I want to go to Media Matters and the guys that are following us on the left. We appreciate the following. Why did you beat down on the poor guy that a guy tweets out, gives us, I think, a good tweet. He's following it, right? And he's saying, hey, these guys are at the Vanguard, and we're doing the national tour every day, and the response is just tremendous. The response for young people to sign up and go do something, the plot to steal 2020, get to Jack or get to Raheem, get to anybody, DM somebody. If you've got an organization that wants it, it's about 20 minutes long. Or if Raheem does the introduction, it goes about 30 minutes long. And then we take some questions, get some Q&A with you guys, and then. But the volunteer aspect, people are fired up. They want to put their shoulder to the wheel. They want to be actively engaged. And the left understands we pride ourselves on being at the forefront of this, not just the intellectual to describe and to make sure you understand what's going on, and bringing in Bill McGinley's and bringing in the David Rifkins and all the smart constitutional lawyers, also the guys that know ground game, combat journalism from Portland. You got Jack Posobiec. We got Darren Beatty and the Cover Revolutions. We try to be the one-stop shop so you understand this. But then Raheem's got to get cruel, unnecessarily cruel, Mr. Horowitz. And what happened here?
Well, Justin Horowitz is one of the new hires at Media Matters, and I thought I'd welcome him to the party, just in the same way that we welcomed Madeline Peltz a few months ago. We'll make him famous. If they want to add context and call us incoherent.
Did Madeline she got field promotion and got to dump the show and it got left with Justin?
Yeah, I think Madeline Peltz is now Justin Horowitz's line manager.
Madeline,
Imagine that.
Madeline, we miss you. Come
Horrific.
back. Madeline, come back.
But here's the deal. They always want to include just selective information. And my attitude is two can play that game. So we went through and found out who Justin Horowitz is. Well, he has written about dog shows in the past. That appears to be his journalistic integrity so far and his experience so far.
According to them, they just gave him another dog show.
Gave him another dog show.
Dog show, plenty of fleas, right?
Dog and pony show.
That dog, that's the war room.
But the reason
I'm sure it's not the first pick. I assume Justin's not the top of his class at Media Matters. I'm sure the guys are not volunteering to do the War Room Pandemic. They're probably volunteering to do something else.
That's probably right. But what was very interesting to me is that upon being called out by thenationalpulse.com, where you can read all about Justin Horowitz right now, his tweet numbers have changed. He went from 5,061 tweets to 5,025 tweets, meaning he's just disappeared 36 tweets. What do those tweets say? Well, we know one of them was, I don't celebrate the 4th of July because I'm fire woke. Him being very forthcoming about his attitude towards drag shows and his attitude towards Grindr. So thanks, Justin. Nice to know you.
Did he block you on Twitter?
He did.
Can't do that, Justin. Come on, Justin.
This is, you know what? You got to fight. You got to have a fight.
You got to fight. You got to fight. Come on, that's just
don't back down.
Come on, Justin. That's bad form.
Yeah. Madeline Peltz. To be credit to Madeline Peltz, has never blocked us.
No, Justin, you got to walk over to Madeline Peltz's office, or if it's an open thing, sit down, let her explain the way the system works. Right? You punch and then you get punched back, but you punch and you punch back. That's the system. Okay. You got to participate. If you don't, you're gonna be doing the dog shows, right? You're gonna get a worse dog show than this. Talk to me tonight about Real America's Voice. You got great coverage on all the sites. What's Real America's Voice doing?
We'll be doing live 7 p.m. You'll be able to watch it all across Pluto, Roku, Apple TV, Comcast, Chicago, Dish, and beyond. Gina Loudon, Eric Greitens, Raheem Kassam, and the rest of the team over at Real America's Voice. But just before we go as well, I just want to quickly mention that Chris Bryant, this member of the British Parliament, has nominated Joe Biden now for the Nobel Peace Prize. Chris Bryant
how original.
is the perfect person to nominate Biden. Chris Bryant was an expenses cheat, got found flipping his second home expenses twice. He was fined, I believe, by the parliamentary authorities for doing so. And in 2003, posted a picture, our very own Anthony Weiner posted a picture of himself wearing only underpants on gay dating website Gaydar, and was obviously roundly ridiculed for that.
So
Perfect.
So he's nominated now, Joe Biden, for the Trump's got 3 from guys who are not Trump fans. That's the beauty of it. Okay. Tonight's the debate. I think 9 o'clock to 10:30.
Yeah.
Of course, it may go a little longer because Joe wants to take 15-minute breaks every 30 minutes. We're gonna be back. Sleepy Joe walked right into that punch, Joe. Okay, we're gonna be back 10 o'clock.
We're going to be back tomorrow on the 26th, or
on the 26th? No, on the 19th. I'm gonna be in New York City. I go up tonight to do some media. And we'll be remote tomorrow with Raheem and the C. We're going to have a lot of special guests to give their analysis of what happens tonight. # War and Pandemic and the Posse in the live stream. Tell us what you think.